to talk about what I call hoses and drains today, okay? And so, again, this is one of those really important lessons in our life to figure out. We have a lot of drains in our lives all the time. Drains are those things that really just stress us and suck the energy out of us, okay? Whereas hoses are those things that pour into us. And so just take a look at these ideas, and it's part of your homework this week for your discussion. But I hope that you get something out of it long term, because I think it really is useful in a lot of areas of our lives. Okay, so the first one is we're going to talk about our stressful life events. And we already covered that a little bit in the previous lecture about stress, that sometimes it's circumstances in our lives. But I wanted to identify a couple of other drains that you might have. Catastrophic events, believe it or not, these are considered a drain. Earthquakes, combat stress, floods, these often lead individuals to becoming depressed, sleepless, and anxious. Believe it or not, I think COVID is one of those. Significant changes in our lives. Death of a loved one, divorce, loss of jobs, promotions. You might go, how can a promotion be a drain? Isn't that supposed to be a really positive thing? Well, it is. However, honestly, promotions, there's more expectations on us when we get a promotion in a job. So there's more expectations that we have put on ourselves. And so that, of course, is stressful. And so there can be a lot of different drains. Sometimes I will tell you I love reading through this project because you really do get some insight into people's lives. And one thing that can be a significant drain are people. And sometimes we need to identify, is there a person in our life that just drains us of our energy? And be aware of that, because maybe you are needing to learn to set better boundaries with that person. All of these can lead basically to acute stress, which may leave individuals vulnerable to death or illness in the weeks following the event. Daily hassles are another kind of drain. Sometimes, if you've ever been caught in rush hour, I know so many people commute to the Bay Area. That is a daily hassle I am willing to forgo. Long lines, job stress, burnout are most significant sources of stress and can damage your health. Again, this can also lead to chronic stress, depression, decreased performance, and cynicism, being cynical. So again, more of that negativity. It also leads to hypertension, depressed immune system, and again, risk of heart attack and weight gain, because when we're stressed, we tend to eat our comfort foods. But let's talk about uplifts. So those were the drains, and uplifts are considered the hoses. Opposed to daily hassles, we experience uplifts, and these kind of help counterbalance. We're never going to get rid of the daily hassles, but we can hopefully counterbalance it with good things. These might be a pleasant and satisfying experience. If you've ever been to Disneyland, you know that there are lines. Now, I will tell you, Disneyland has learned something really important over the years, and they utilize it, or they did before COVID. We'll see what this looks like next when it opens. But they learned that if you keep people in line moving, they are happier with their experience because they feel always like they are making progress and going somewhere. If you've ever been to an amusement park that does not change their line configuration like Disneyland, and you feel like you are stuck in the same place forever, it's much less satisfying, right? But why do we stand in those lines? Because we're looking forward to the pleasant and satisfying experience of going on a ride. Again, this might serve as buffers against hassles. According to a guy by the name of Lazarus, stress neither resides in the person nor the situation, but it really depends on the transaction between the two. Okay, this is what I really want you to identify in your homework of what is your love language. So you're going to have to bear with me, but I'm going to tell you what the love languages are and explain to you this concept. Some of you may have already heard this concept, There's a book out there called The 5 Love Languages. I'm not going to have you read it. I'm going to just explain the concept in general. This is the cheesy part of the concept. It says that we all have a love tank. But just like a gas tank, what happens when you run out of gas? Well, your car can't go any farther, right? Well, when you give and give and give of yourself, what happens? You hit burnout. You are depleted, and it's hard for you to give anymore. And there are people in our lives that we want to give. I know at this age, it might feel like it's your friends, it might be some family members, but as you mature, if you end up having kids or whatever, of course, they never stop taking. But it's important that we give back to ourselves. So the other piece of this is that we all speak a love language. But just like real language, I don't speak Japanese. Now, maybe somebody out there in this crowd does, and if you do, awesome. If you do, then think of a different language. But if I went to Japan and I said, I love you to somebody, but they didn't speak English either, would we understand each other? The answer, of course, is no. But here's the deal. We all speak different love languages, and a lot of times the people around you do not speak the same as you do. So it's really good to understand what they are. The first one we're going to cover is physical touch. Now, I know the first thing that goes to our head when we think of physical touch is we think of sexual touch, but that is not the same. Physical touch, I mean, it can be sexual, but it's just touching people. Think about, that relative you have that is the hugger. They're always wanting to hug on you, and sometimes you'll see little kids who are like that. They just want to hang on you. Their love language is mostly physical touch, most likely. Acts of service is the next one. The idea of just serving other people, doing things for them. I will tell you, my mother-in-law, her love language is act of service. So here I am sitting in I'm in my kitchen, and my mother-in-law comes and visits. And the first thing she does is she comes into my kitchen and she starts cleaning. Well, that's not my love language, so how do you think I take that? She doesn't think my kitchen is clean enough. And then I have to just back up and go, no, this is how she's showing me that she loves me. She is doing an act of service. And so if somebody you know, or maybe it's you, just love doing things for people, that might be your love language also. Okay, the next one is quality time, and this one is my particular one. This is not about quantity, it is about quality. It's just hanging out with your friends or your family and just enjoying connecting and conversation and having a good time together. That is quality time, and that's something that fills you up. The next love language is words of affirmation. So here's the thing. We all like being told, you're awesome, good job, I love you, all those fabulous words, right? But how you know if this is your love language is if somebody criticizes you, are you super sensitive to it? If you are, then the likelihood is words of affirmation might be one of your top love languages. That's usually the tell. People who words are not theirs, they usually are able to let it fly off their back. As you get into your career, something that's kind of interesting that happens is you have to get reviewed, usually annually by your boss. And of course, they'll tell you 111 things that you have done wonderfully, but they will tell you one thing that you need to improve. A words of affirmation person is crushed by this one thing. Even though, honestly, in reality, is it realistic that all of us are going to do everything perfectly all the time? No. There are going to be areas of our life that we need to work on, but the words of affirmation person, again, they take these words very seriously. Gifts is another one. And again, I want to make this clear that gift giving and receiving is not about money. It's about thoughtfulness. I have a son who is a gift person. If I just buy him his favorite stick of gum, he is thrilled, and he has felt that to his very soul. He loves gifts. Of course, he likes expensive gifts too, but it is about the thoughtfulness. I have a sister-in-law who is also a gift person, and she just it is when she got married, her little gift to everybody is she hand sewed the invitation envelopes to everybody. This was seriously her little gift to everybody. So gifts is another one. Okay, so we've already covered that. The thing with love languages is, again, you may speak one, and maybe your mom speaks something else. Maybe your mom speaks acts of service and your quality time. And so when you think about, okay, my mom does all this stuff for me, I just want her to stop and spend some time with me, maybe take me out to lunch or something. That right there is telling you that you might need to communicate what your love language is to her. This is also in your friends and maybe future relationships, maybe future spouses. Learning, it's very odd that you find somebody who speaks the same love language as you, but it's really helpful if you can at least communicate what your love language is and what their love language is, and really try to speak it to each other so each other hears their own love language. Okay, so again, I know this is kind of a weird concept, but I want you to be able to identify what is your love language. I will tell you, if you go online, you might be able to find some different tests that will tell you. Type in love language test, and we'll see what sometimes stuff pops up for that. Like I said, there are books. There are books for love languages of your children, love languages for your significant other, because we all speak love languages. So anyways, I look forward to seeing what you guys put down, what you identify as your drains, and what you identify as your hoses.